was there any concern about Ralph's health before he passed?
Well, I can remember one time, and I was fairly young, that Daddy, I don't know if he had got sick or passed out. I don't know how it commenced, but he ended up having to be in the bed for a few days and drink this white chalky stuff. That's really what I remember about that. But that was quite a few years before his heart attack.
Yeah.
And Daddy had a heart attack in January of 73, and that was on the cusp of them doing bypass surgeries and stents, and so that wasn't an option for him then.
Wait, so he had a heart attack before?
He had a heart attack in January of 73. They put him on medication. He drove a race car maybe a time or two, but that's when Stick Elliott drove for him.
It affected him physically.
73, it affected him physically.
He just wasn't.
Well, then he had a heart attack and died September of 73.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of, for the longest time, people, love to tell the story that he passed away in his shop working on his car, right? That just because that sounds so cool. But
yeah, that's just all about the movie things.
Yes. But he passed away in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. Mm-hmm.
And there was a
Who
parts
found him?
delivery or so.
There was a lady. Her husband. They ran the Whataburger down. I don't even remember what number it was. It was a small one down across from the cemetery, down on the boulevard on 29. And I think it was a drag car he had, and Daddy was working on parts or doing something for him. And the story was told that me and Mother had gone to take Grandma Earnhardt to the mountains back home, so we weren't there. We left early, and according to timing, he died not long after we left. I mean, it was early in the morning before lunchtime. And the lady said she got there, and Daddy was going into the house and told her that he'd be right back. So she said, for whatever reason, I just stood there at the base of the steps of the back door. She said, and he never came. And I heard a noise, but I didn't know what it was, but he never came back out. She said, so I went in. It's pretty common knowledge Daddy had had a heart attack in January. So I went in, and she found him in the kitchen floor. He had started opening a pack of gum, a piece of gum that was laying on the counter, and the water was running. And so apparently he'd gotten hot, flushed, or whatever. Thought gum, you put a piece of gum
Like
in
a
your mouth,
sugar
that
thing,
might help.
Yeah.
Well, she couldn't find a telephone, so she ran across the street to the Carter's house, and they called 0. I don't think 911 was yet. And when the ambulance came, of course, they said he was still alive, but when they got him to the hospital, they pronounced him dead. Kay and Dale made it to the hospital. I don't know if about Randy and Danny made it to the hospital to see him, to see his body or to see him. But Mother and I had gone to Bryson City to take Grandma and Jessie back home because she wouldn't wait till the weekend for Daddy to take her back. And they called the highway patrol who was supposed to stop us or catch up with us. And it was before lunch because we had lunch at Grandma's, and they said, well, they were supposed to come to Grandma's house if they didn't catch you on the interstate. We started back down the mountain and stopped in Canton to see Hilda and Frank Presley, who Daddy drove for, the V8 car. And Hilda came to the back door. She said, what are y'all doing here? Mama said, well, Hilda, we just come to visit. Have you not talked to anyone at home? Well, no, why? What's wrong? You need to call home. Dale, you need to call your house. Dale's at your house. You need to call your house. So I called, and all Dale would tell us is that Daddy had had a heart attack. They wouldn't tell us Daddy had passed. And,
Daddy? What was Daddy's state?
He just said, Cathy, you need to let Frank bring you and Mama home. Daddy's had a heart attack. He wasn't
just as calm as can be.
As calm as he could be.
My God.
And I said, Dale, how serious is it? He said, just get Frank to bring y'all home. Well, Frank was on the golf course. I wasn't waiting on his ass. I said, we're going home. Hilda said, no, you can't drive her home. I said, well, hold your breath. I can, too. Well, that was before the big interstates were built. There was, it was about a 5-hour, almost 5-hour drive up to Grandma's house. But Canton, it was probably a 3-hour drive home. We got home about 4 o'clock, and I just remember cars being on both sides of the road. You know, the crowd of people that was there, that told us what had happened. Yeah. And then Dale and Kay and Dale and Randy and Danny met us at the car, and we all went in Mom and Daddy's bedroom, and they told us, you know, what had happened and how it happened. And you just, you know, Daddy's the leader.
Yeah.
I don't care how you interpreted his personality or his ways of disciplining his children. He was our leader. He was the person that taught us right from wrong. He was the person that gave us opportunity or not. And, you know, when the doors of that garage closed, it was like the end of the world.
Yeah, he was the direction.
He was our direction.
Yeah,
and you know, we didn't see Daddy and even Dell as, wow, you know, racing was our life, and that was our life stopped right there. Even though Dell was, you know, tampering with it some, he
just kind of been just getting started.
Just getting started. And so everything shut down. You know, it was easy for us that were married to drive away. You know, the way I dealt with my daddy and your daddy's death, and even Randy and Danny somewhat, I can pretend they're not dead because I didn't live with them every day. I didn't have to be there in the mornings or in the evenings when it was time to go to bed and they weren't there. But when I'd pull in Mama's driveway,
don't cry,
and that shop would be closed, was the most traumatizing thing of my life. So when Dale started racing, you know, he got all the race cars and all the stuff. The garage doors were back up, and we were back in business. You know, you'd pull in that driveway, and the doors were up, and there's trucks and race cars sitting around, and you got a new lease on life. And I think that's what kept our family from really just all going to pieces. Just kept us from going to pieces. Because Dale kind of stepped into that role. He stepped in the role of leader of the family. He told Mama what to do. He told all of us what to do. You know, he was the control freak. So that's how things went.
I get that. I can feel that.
So when we lost him, he had done moved out of the shop, of course, but when we lost him, it was like, okay, what do we do now? You know, what do we do now? And, you know, Randy and Danny just weren't the people to step up. People expected you to step up when Dale passed. They expected you to be the things that Dale was when Daddy passed. And that wasn't the way it was going to be. And we all just kind of were in limbo because, you know, at some parts of our life, there was the Earnhardts in Kannapolis and there was Earnhardts in Mooresville. There was like, you know, at his funeral, we sat over here, they sat over there. It was just kind of awkward, as you say. But we wanted somebody to step up because we needed that leader. We needed that glue. And my mama was a champion. She did. She's the one that carried us all through it and never floundered, never, you know, she grieved, obviously. But she, as you all testament to during her passing, that, you know, she was the glue for a lot of people. She was the support for a lot of people. And she got us through it.